Unfinity, Magic's latest rendition of their famous unsets, is coming out soon, and we have been getting the first couple previews for the set, and with it, we have learned a lot about the mechanics. So in this video, I'm going to break down the major mechanics of the set, answer a couple questions about them, and overall talk about my thoughts on Unfinity. So let's jump right into that. Now, before I can actually explain any of the mechanics, we need to talk a little bit about unsets. Unsets are meant to be fun sets that aren't legal anywhere. However, with Unfinity, Wizards of the Coast is making a change. Some of the cards in the set are actually legal in Commander, Vintage, Legacy, all the Eternal formats, and that can be shown if it has an acorn symbol in the bottom. If there is an acorn, that means it is not legal. Otherwise, if there's no symbol or the typical rare symbol, that can be used in Commander, Legacy, Vintage, all of that. And a lot of the mechanics are Eternal legal, so this does have some pretty big impact on Magic as a whole. Either way, let's jump into this. Alright, so the first mechanic is stickers, and it's a little bit of a complicated one. But basically, there are cards that instruct you to put a sticker on a non-land permanent you own. These are actual stickers that are in Unfinity packs, and you can go and put them on your creatures. Now, there are four main types of stickers. There are name stickers, art stickers, ability stickers, and power and toughness stickers. Here is an example of one right here. So you'll see it has Jetpack, Death, and Seltzer, and has some art stickers, some abilities, some power and toughnesses. Now, if a card, let's say Robo Pinata, instructs you to put a sticker on a non-land permanent you own, you may put a art or a name sticker on it. Or you can pay the cost next to one of the ability stickers or power and toughness stickers to put one of those on instead. So what are these costs? Well, those are tickets. And similarly, on Robo Pinata, you can also choose to get tickets. So there'll be cards that generate tickets, cards that put stickers on things, several different types of cards that care about this mechanic. So with Robo Pinata, if you already had 2 tickets when it dies, you could put the trample mechanic on top of one of your other permanents. Now, there are a couple things to note. It does say you own, so this does mean you will never be putting stickers on things you don't own. So even if your opponent takes control of your creature, they will not be able to put their sticker on it, so you don't have to worry about people ruining your cards. In addition, once you use the, say, trample sticker, you can't use another trample sticker unless you have another copy of it. So you get to use it once. And what's interesting is that the stickers stay on the permanent when they leave zones. However, there is one exception. If they go to a hidden zone, so for example, your hand, your library, exile face down, any of those, the stickers are returned back to the sticker sheet. So that's the only way to unsticker a card, is to have it go into a hidden zone like your library or hand. Otherwise, if it dies, goes to exile, the stickers stay on the card. So it kind of works similarly to Perpetually in MTG Arena. Alright, now let's talk about each type of sticker because they all have different rules. So with name stickers, you can put them anywhere on the name and they will either go in the front, the end, or in between words. Now, if you are unable to physically place it in between words, you can kind of put it above the words and just announce to your opponent what it is. They don't make a huge difference, but they do get around things like the legend rule. So if you have, 2 Jaces, if you make it become Jace Wielder of Jetpack instead of Wielder of Mystery, you could then have another Jace Wielder of Mystery on the battlefield. Art stickers do the least in terms of just actually changing how the game functions. They do add things to the art, and there are cards that care about things like if someone's wearing a hat, if something's, in the art. That is only going to matter to the non-eternal legal cards. However, there are cards that just care about stickered cards. So there are cards in the set that say like, stickered cards you control get +1/+1, and so art stickers do count for that. Now, in terms of mechanic stickers, they are always additive. You can't cover up text on cards and like say, I'm replacing it's where it says Defender with Trample. You always add on, even if you are covering up part of the text. The only part that ever covers anything is the power and toughness. Names, art, and ability stickers are always additive. Power and toughness replaces. It's not adding 2 and 7, it is making it a 2/7. So that is something to be aware of. There are 48 different sticker sheets, and how they work in Draft and Shield is kind of interesting. So let's talk about them in a couple different formats. So in Constructed, you can bring at least 10 sticker sheets, and at the beginning of each game, you choose 3 at random from the sheets you brought. So at minimum 10, that means you're only ever going to bring 10. And then at the beginning of your game, you're going to pick 3, and those are the ones you have access to for the entire game. In Sealed, you get to choose up to 3 from among the sticker sheets you opened, and you'll always have those 3. And in Booster Draft, you don't draft the stickers. Whatever you open up your first pack, you take the sticker sheet out, and that is your sticker sheet, leaving you with 3 at the end, and those will be your stickers for the event. All right, now that was a lot. Let's jump into the next mechanic, though, and that is attractions. And I think this one's a little bit less, far out there, so let's talk a little bit about those. All right, so attractions are a new type of artifact that are going to be within Unfinity packs and you draft. So unlike sticker sheets where you don't draft them, attractions you do, and they form a second deck. So there will be cards that instruct you to quote unquote open an attraction. And when that happens, you are going to take the top card of your attraction deck and put it onto the battlefield. It is an artifact, so anything that interacts with artifacts will work with it. Now, how these work, you'll notice that they have a lot of text on them, but all of them will have something about when you visit. So for example, Fortune Teller is very simple. It tells you to scry. Now, you do not visit as soon as the attraction happens. Essentially, at the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, so the same time that sagas go off, you roll a d6, and then you will get obviously an answer 1 through 6. And anytime you roll a number that is correlated with a lit up point on the attraction, you get to visit. So for Fortune Teller, if you roll a 2, a 3, or a 6, you get the Fortune Teller trigger. And you actually get to go to all of the attractions that it lights up with. So for example, if you roll a 2 and you have 3 attractions that have 2 lit up, you get to visit all of those attractions, and they vary in power. Fortune Teller is not very powerful, it's just scry 1. So there are 3 lit up points. There are some with more powerful effects that maybe only have 2. Now, there is another type of attraction, and that is called a prize-based attraction in essence. And those, instead, when you visit, have you play a little mini game, and these are typically not eternal legal cards. For example, Dart Throw. You play a mini game, and if you win the mini game, you get 2 teddy bear creature tokens. And then you sacrifice that attraction, and then you get to open a new attraction. Now, these are cards coming from an alternate deck that enter the battlefield, but there are a couple weird rules about them changing zones. So if a attraction ever leaves the battlefield to go anywhere other than exile, it instead goes into a new zone called the scrapyard. So essentially, this is a zone that cannot be interacted with in the same way that a graveyard can. So you can't just keep reanimating Dart Throw unless there are cards printed in Unfinity that specifically interact with it. The one zone it can go to is exile. So if you have a card that flickers an artifact or just exiles an artifact, they do go to exile still. So yeah, that's some really interesting things to think of. You can't put them in your hand. You can't put them in your, library. You can't even put them in your graveyard. If they leave the battlefield, they go to either the scrapyard or exile. Now, a couple other things. Apparently, there may be cards that will instruct you to visit attractions where you'll roll a d6 even when it's not your pre-combat main phase. So keep that in mind. The other thing to keep in mind, these are again legal in Eternal format, so this may be something you actually run into. Another thing to note is that they have many variations of the same card. For example, they have 6 versions of Fortune Teller, all with different lights lit up. They always have the same number of lights lit up, it's just a different combination. The one exception is that every single attraction will have the 1 not lit up and the 6 lit up. So if you roll a 6, you will get all of your attractions. So let's talk about how they work in different formats. In sealed and draft, it's pretty much what you get is what you can play, and you have to have at least 3. If you don't get 3, then you just don't get to use the attraction deck. You have to have at least 3, and you can have duplicates. However, in constructed games, you have to have at least 10, and they have to be singleton. So you can't just take 3 of the best attractions and only have those as options. You have to have 10, meaning that you are not guaranteed to hit the same attraction every single time, meaning they are very unreliable to build around unless you have a lot of triggers to open attractions. So keep that in mind. Singleton and 10 in constructed. So that does mean they are going to be kind of difficult to build consistently around. You've seen how they activate. You've seen what kind of effects they have. I think it's a really interesting mechanic. It does feel kind of similar to what we had in Unstable with the sprockets and all of those. So it is kind of interesting to see them kind of playing around in the same zone. It does feel weird to me that Unfinity drafts have so many non-cards. They have attractions, they have stickers, they have all these things. things. So that does kind of feel weird, but yeah, I think it's a very, very interesting mechanic. I want to know your guys' thoughts about these in the comments down below. Those are the two major mechanics that we're going to talk about. They talk about, dice, there is dice in this, but that's almost becoming, I don't want to say a universal thing. It's starting to pop up at least once a year. It's not anything super crazy. It also is part of the attraction mechanic. Everything will be D6 based though in this set. So yeah, it doesn't really matter. Everything will be D6 based. But remember, any card that cares about rolling die will care about rolling the D20s that Adventures in the Forgotten Realm did. Either way, guys, that is going to do it for this video. If you have any questions that I maybe didn't cover about these mechanics, leave them in the comments down below and I will do my best to answer them. I will see you guys in the next one.